Welcome to the EQ Fit podcast. Our mission is to equip people to prosper in every aspect of their life. Whether you're at home or in the workplace, we explore practical ways of improving success, satisfaction, finding balance, and building enjoyable and beneficial relationships. Thank you for joining us. So we've started a series to look at the kinds of tools that most organizations don't use that could add so much value and so much return on investment. Last time I talked about the vital signs toolkit from 6 Seconds. And whether you use that or some other form of validated assessment, there are assessments out there to get actionable data about leaders, teams, and entire organizations. And I stress that phrase, actionable data. A climate survey, as good as they are, and honest to goodness, I think they sell that stuff by the pound because they give you this huge notebooks worth of data, which is great, right? But what do you do with that? What do you figure is the path forward when you're looking through page after page after page after page of data? I'm not saying the data isn't good, but is it aligned in a way that allows you to make the decisions you need and understand what the clear pathway forward is to get where you want to go? If that's not in those climate surveys, whether it's for an entire organization or even a team, then are you really spending your money wisely? That's an investment. The reason you want to get good data is to get good insights so you can make your very best decisions. And that's why I'm taking some time and talking about different kinds of tools and how they apply to bringing real value and return on investment in the workplace. And today we're going to focus on Leadership360s. Most of you will have heard about a Leadership360 assessment. And the basic concept is simple. The individual who's the leader takes the assessment themselves, but also other groups of people, individuals in those groups, take the assessment or the survey on the leadership of that one leader. And that gives a leader incredible insight. We know that leadership is not just about strategic vision or decision making. It's about understanding how leadership impacts those around you. A powerful way to gain that understanding and insight is through a Leadership360 assessment or survey. Now, these assessments offer a holistic view of leadership captured from the perspective of those different groups I talked about. So peers, direct reports, supervisors, maybe even other people in the organization or even outside the organization. And of course, part of that is the self-assessment by the leader. Now, by doing something like this, a leader can uncover how their behaviors, their decisions, and their approach are perceived across the organization, which provides an invaluable foundation for growth and development. And I know, and I have sat through many of these, and I'll talk to you, I'll give you a specific story about one of these Leadership360s I did recently to give you a sense of what that looks like. I have had leaders look at me and say, well, that doesn't really matter. That's just their perception. I'm sorry, I'm laughing here because their perception is their reality. It is where they're going to come from and live in. So yeah, their perception does matter. And so we need to be aware of that. And it doesn't mean it's right or wrong, but it matters because the whole point of leadership is to influence people and to engage people to achieve certain goals and objectives. And if you can't do that, are you really a leader worth following? So why do a Leadership 360 assessment? Well, in the hundreds of organizations that I've worked with over the years, only a few have had any type of process to identify leadership impact other than a formal evaluation process. And you know what? That is such an ineffective way to keep the pulse of how impactful leadership is in an organization. Most people don't do that except once a year, and it's always backward looking. And so there's such a disconnect there. And that means that the vast majority of organizations are relying on what we call lag indicators to measure leadership effectiveness. Well, in today's fast-paced work environment, relying on lag indicators for leadership evaluation, it just reduces your competitive advantage. You've lost time. You've lost resources. You've lost effectiveness. That's why lead indicators of leadership impact are critical to sustainable success. And this is where Leadership 360s shine. This is where this kind of tool makes a huge impact if you get the right one. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. Well, let me share that story with you. I recently met with the owner of a business I've known for many years and one of his key leaders. This is a senior leader in that organization. The owner had asked me to do a Leadership 360 assessment on this senior leader. I had done this many times with this owner on other leaders in his organization, but this was the first time for this senior leader that we were meeting with that day. So I personally use a Leadership 360 assessment from 6 Seconds called Leadership Vital Signs. It measures the 5 drivers of success for leaders: trust, execution, teamwork, motivation, and change. And change is defined as the ability to lead well through change. Lead yourself well, lead others well through change. Now, these are all lead indicators. I like to include participant groups of supervisor or maybe supervisors, if there's more than one, direct reports, peers, and others. I define others as people in the organization who don't really fit into the other groups, but they have some working relationship with that leader. Sometimes I like to include clients and customers as a group of their own if I'm working with sales leaders or someone who has a very significant role outside the organization in influencing business and revenue. Now, why do I use this Leadership Vital Signs 360 from 6 Seconds? Number one, because it has a great track record for being accurate, which is very important to me. And it also provides actionable data, there's that phrase again, that can be used to create KPIs, key performance indicators, for that individual, and to create a development pathway for that leader. So there's a lot of things involved. There's a lot of value in using a tool like this. It isn't just to see where a leader is, it's to give the leader an awareness of how their leadership is showing up for other people, how it's impacting, how it's influencing other people. But it's also going to provide a real sense of what do we need to work on in leadership skill development, in leadership growth for that individual leader. And on top of that, if there are things that are misaligned as far as the leadership of that individual and the goals of the organization, this is a wonderful point to get those things aligned with each other so that that leader is leading in a way that aligns with the values and the goals and the mission and the vision of the organization. So again, these tools have a multidimensional impact. Now, the other thing I like about this assessment from 6 Seconds, it incorporates a significant level of emotional intelligence insights, which are absolutely foundational to leadership success. Okay, now back to my story. Unfortunately, this was one of those times when the report showed significant differences between where the leader thought he was in his leadership and where everybody else thought he was. And it happens. And I'm not going to say a certain percentage of the time, but it happens where leaders think that they're doing so much better than all of the other groups rate them. I've also had it go the other way, where leaders feel like they're not doing very good at all, but the other groups are saying, yeah, your leadership is showing up really well. Well, think about that for a minute. When I'm doing a feedback session around that kind of report, let's take the leader that thinks they're doing not a very good job as a leader, but the other groups are saying, yes, you are. Basically, what's happening is that leader is leaving a lot on the table. There's a lot of capacity there that leader could leverage. But because they don't think their leadership is that good, that capacity is not getting leveraged. Well, how does that impact an organization, right? The other side of that, a leader thinks they're doing fantastic. The other groups, not so much. What does that mean? Well, basically, lack of trust, lack of the ability to get things done in a timely manner. Well, let me not get ahead of myself here. Let me go back to the story and fill you in on what happened. So, in short, there were a lot of red flags. Now, a side note here, I told you I was going to get back to the story, but I just want to share something with you that I think is really important here. You can go online and find stuff for free. You can go buy something kind of a la carte somewhere. I really would ask you not do that, and there's a reason for that. I went through an extensive certification process to be able to use these tools that I bring to organizations like the Leadership Vital Signs 360. Why is that important? That you use somebody that has that kind of professional certification in these tools. Well, if you're going to use tools that have a direct impact on someone's life and their livelihood, they need to be highly validated and they need to provide real value. And that is where, I understand budgets are tight at times, costs are a factor, but partnering with a certified assessment professional like me provides ROI in so many different ways. And I'd be happy to have a conversation with anybody about what that looks like, but I'm not going to do that here. But feel free to reach out to us at eqfit.org. And I would love to have a conversation. A conversation doesn't cost you anything. So back to our story. We're in the feedback session with the owner and with this senior leader. And it became very clear that the leader, while he was a very nice guy, I like the guy. He's a nice guy. He had a number of leadership gaps that were holding the organization back. Now, it became clear when we observed some very specific measures. His trust rating, his execution rating, and his change scores for those other groups were all significantly lower than how he rated himself. Now, these variances led us to identify and understand there were some critical underlying issues. So why would it make a difference if he rated himself high on trust, execution, and change, and everybody else in the other groups rated him low? Well, you have to take it to the next step. This is where the certified assessment professional steps in and says, let's find the root causes behind that. And through a variety of different things in the assessment, we were able to identify two main areas of concern. Here they are. He struggled with adaptive thinking. He was not very mentally agile in the moment. He was much better at strategic thinking, which is great for a leader in some ways, but in other ways you need that adaptive thinking as well to be able to think and innovate in the moment and in a short time frame. And the other thing that was very, very clear is he lacked confidence in his decision making. So he would procrastinate. He would be indecisive. He would push things out further than they should be. All of that created bottlenecks and slowdowns in the organization. And as a senior leader in the organization, this was a real problem. And again, notice what I said. This is a nice guy. I'm not judging the guy. He's a very nice guy. I like him. But the reality is the performance of his leadership is not showing up for others in the way that the owner and the team needed it to show up. Now, once these gaps became known, we were able to create a very specific leadership development pathway for this senior leader. Now, the only way this happens, and I'm going to use this phrase again, actionable data. If you don't have data that you can really turn into action steps, then you have a real problem. We were able to create specific KPIs that aligned with organizational goals and began to resolve some of these concerns and these issues. What started as an uncomfortable situation became an opportunity to enhance this leader's impact and provide him a way to contribute to the success of the entire organization. And that to me is so exciting. So let me define what is a Leadership 360, and then we'll go deeper into what we can do with it. Because as I've told you this story, I now want to unpack some of the questions you may have about a Leadership 360 that could have come up during the story itself. A Leadership 360 is a developmental tool, and I always approach it from that direction. It is not a punitive tool. It is a developmental tool that captures feedback from various stakeholders, offering leaders a comprehensive perspective on their impact. Unlike traditional performance reviews, which often provide only top-down feedback, a 360 assessment collects insights from those who work above this individual, alongside them, and underneath them, and even outside the organization, as I said, in some cases. This multidimensional feedback offers a clear and a more balanced view of how the leader is truly showing up. And that's a phrase I like to use with leaders when I describe this tool. This is about how you're showing up for other people. Now, the tool that I use, the Leadership 360 Vital Signs tool from 6 Seconds, stands out because it's a robust example of a 360 tool that not only captures feedback effectively, but provides that actionable data that we're looking for. The essence of using a 360 assessment isn't merely collecting opinions, but it's leveraging the data to map out actionable steps that lead to meaningful change. And that's why these are developmental. The whole point of this is change. How can we improve, enhance, increase, whatever word that you want to use there? So the Leadership 360 Vital Signs Assessment excels at converting observations into clear strategies for growth, focusing on 5 key drivers of leadership success: trust, execution, teamwork, motivation, and change. Now, let's dive deeper into these individual drivers of success and how do those show up for leaders. Okay, let's break these down, and let's start with trust. If you look at the model that 6 Seconds uses for all of the vital signs assessments, dead center in the middle is a diamond with trust. Right there in the middle of the other 4 drivers of success, because trust touches everything. So trust is the foundation of any successful team or organization. It's the glue that binds people together, allowing them to collaborate effectively and feel secure in their roles. When a leader fosters trust, they create an environment where people feel safe to express their thoughts, their innovations. They can innovate, they can provide feedback to each other because there's psychological safety. And they can take calculated risks. So you can either have a team that is hesitant and guarded and doesn't communicate very well, doesn't collaborate very well, or you can foster trust to overcome that. I would much rather have the latter than the former. I want a team that wants to go forward and make decisions and do things, and who wants more autonomy, who wants to accomplish more. But the leader has to set the tone and has to create the environment of trust for that to happen. Now, how does this relate to the assessment that I talked about, the Leadership 360 vital signs? It measures trust by evaluating how transparent, how authentic, and how consistent leaders are in their perceptions of other people. Literally, those things, are they showing up for other people? Building trust increases employee engagement. It reduces conflict. It paves the way for a culture of openness and productive loyalty. Not loyalty built out of politics, but loyalty built out of trust. That's the best type of loyalty there is. Trust is not given, it's earned through consistent ethical behavior and a genuine care for other people. The next one is execution. Execution is about the ability to translate ideas into action and achieve results. Effective leaders create clarity about objectives. Effective leaders create clarity about objectives. They align resources and they ensure that their teams are equipped to deliver on those objectives. It's about the discipline of getting things done, not just talking about them. Now, the assessment looks at a leader's ability to set clear goals, manage priorities, and drive projects to completion. Strong execution impacts the team's ability to meet deadlines, deliver quality outcomes, and maintain momentum, all of which are critical for organizational success. And then we have teamwork as a driver of success. Leadership is fundamentally about leading people, which makes teamwork a central pillar of success. It involves the leader's capacity to unite individuals toward a shared vision, shared goals. It fosters collaboration. It creates energy and synergy. Effective teamwork means that a leader can align diverse personalities and talents toward common objectives. The greatest leaders that I have seen can take people that are very, very different from each other and bring them together around a shared purpose. And that's what we mean by teamwork. Now, how does the assessment show up here? Teamwork is assessed through feedback on collaboration, inclusiveness, and the ability to harness the strengths of other people. A leader who excels in building teamwork boosts team morale, improves productivity, and creates a sense of belonging. This collective effort often leads to more creative solutions and a stronger overall performance. And then we have motivation, and motivation's a big one. Motivation refers to a leader's ability to inspire, to engage, and to energize their people. It's about understanding what drives each member of the team and using that insight to connect individual motivations with the goals of the organization. Effective motivation transforms average teams into high-performing teams. How does the assessment work here? It taps into intrinsic and extrinsic motivators, recognizing the needs of others while aligning them with organizational goals. When a leader can inspire genuine enthusiasm and a desire to contribute, the outcome is higher engagement, reduced turnover, and a more vibrant workplace culture. And all of that points toward sustainable success. And the last one we'll talk about is change. Change is inevitable in today's fast-paced business environment, and the ability to lead well through change is a crucial leadership skill. It includes guiding the team through transitions, managing resistance, and ensuring that the change process is as smooth as possible. The assessment looks at how adaptable and proactive a leader is in managing change. Leaders who can effectively navigate change can minimize disruptions, keep people focused, and help the team see change as an opportunity rather than a threat. And that is a very big deal. Mastery in leading change fosters resilience and prepares an organization to remain agile and competitive. And if you want to create a competitive advantage in the workplace and in the marketplace, this is how you do it. You put your leaders through this kind of an assessment process that gives them the awareness that they need to enhance their leadership skills and their leadership impact. Okay, I always like to bring this back to why should we invest in something like this? What does it do for us? Investing in a Leadership 360 is not just about identifying weaknesses. It's about unlocking full potential in leaders. And you do that with good validated assessments that give you good data for good insights to make your best decisions and create the best path forward. It is a linear sequence of events that is so critical, but so many organizations don't do it. And it's so simple to do. And it's a lot more cost effective than you think. I mean, you're only going to do this maybe once a year. I have many organizations I work with who do this once a year. It is a wonderful way to provide annual developmental plans for leaders and for their teams. There's team vital signs as well. And there's so many benefits to doing this. And what are those benefits? Let's talk about those. What's the value that comes out of that? Increased self-awareness. I know I have a lot of people say, well, how's that valuable? Well, think about it. Understanding how you're perceived by others, it adds depth to your self-awareness. It highlights blind spots and areas for improvement that may not be apparent from self-reflection alone. We all have blind spots. I have blind spots, you have them, we all have them. The reality is those blind spots are roadblocks to greater success and to unlocking more of our full potential. So this awareness thing is the foundational element for moving forward. It is the foundation of emotional intelligence as well. Self-awareness is where you start. And so these benefits of doing a Leadership 360 are going to have real value in bottom line dollars in so many different ways, because it's going to be an entire holistic transformation process for a leader to become not just a good leader, but a great leader that can get the most out of each individual and the team as a whole. When synergy actually kicks in, how would you like to have all your teams become high-performing teams? What would that be like for you? Well, it starts with your leaders becoming high-performing leaders. What's another benefit of doing this? Informed development planning, for sure. A well-designed 360 assessment like the Leadership 360 Vital Signs that I use offers a structured approach to growth. By focusing on the 5 drivers of success, it provides clear and actionable areas for development, turning feedback into a tangible improvement plan. Here's another value, another benefit: strengthen relationships. Receiving and acting upon feedback helps leaders strengthen their relationships with colleagues and with subordinates. It demonstrates a willingness to grow, to listen, and to adapt, qualities that build respect and trust within a team and an organization. I can tell you right now, a culture of feedback, constructive feedback, if you can develop that in your organization, you're automatically going to have a competitive advantage in the marketplace because you've got all hands, all brains aligned and at work for you and your team and your organization. And isn't that what we want? I do an entire workshop on feedback as a gift and how important a culture of constructive feedback is. If you don't have a culture of constructive feedback in your organization, then you're leaving money on the table in the marketplace. I guarantee you that, and I can show that to you. The last thing I want to talk about here is a real benefit of doing a Leadership 360 is to enhance leadership effectiveness. All of these 5 drivers that we've talked about, trust, execution, teamwork, motivation, and change, all of them directly influence leadership outcomes. Working on those areas with the guidance of the assessment will result in more effective leadership that not only delivers results, but inspires and elevates the entire team so they'll deliver results at a higher level and performance raises across the board. The next thing to really consider is what I call this clear path forward, and I use that a lot. A Leadership 360 assessment is most valuable when it provides a clear path forward. The assessment that I use is designed specifically with this in mind, turning insights into practical strategies and applications. Whether it's improving how you build trust, becoming more effective in execution, fostering a more collaborative team environment, inspiring those around you, or navigating change, having a roadmap makes all the difference. This kind of clarity in action steps means leaders aren't left wondering what to do next. They have a blueprint that guides their leadership growth, increasing their effectiveness and ultimately contributing more substantially to the organization's success. Leadership is about influence. And to influence effectively, you have to understand the full spectrum of your impact. A Leadership 360 assessment, like the one I've talked about, the Leadership 360 Vital Signs from 6 Seconds, provides a unique opportunity for leaders to receive actionable feedback from those who experience their leadership every day. By focusing on these critical drivers like trust, execution, teamwork, motivation, and change, leaders can make targeted improvements that elevate their capacity to lead. And that capacity and competence cycle is a cycle. If you can grow your competence, you will help grow your capacity. The more you grow your capacity, the more competence you can grow. And this feeds each other. It's a wonderful cycle of growth. You know, in a time where organizational success depends largely on effective leadership, investing in a comprehensive 360 assessment isn't just a personal development tool. It's a strategic investment for individual leaders and their teams and their organizations. If you're ready to take that next step, I suggest you go to our website and check out our website and the information there on assessments for leaders, on the pathway for teams, for organizations. Also go to our YouTube channel. It's simple. YouTube at EQFit. And check out the different videos about the very things we're talking about here. Leadership 360s, team vital signs, organizational vital signs. I'll leave you with this. If you want to be a leader worth following, leaders are learners. Leaders are people who have a desire to grow and to continue a transformational process throughout their career. This is probably one of the most effective ways to really enhance your leadership. Get some really good data from a validated Leadership 360 that will give you insight into where you need to focus your investment of time and energy and effort to grow your leadership impact. That's what good leaders do. And that's what I hope you'll consider. Thank you for joining us for this episode. If you have any questions about this week's episode, or maybe a suggestion for future episodes you'd like us to explore, please contact us through our website at eqfit.org. For more information and inspiration, connect with us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube at EQFit.